This story begins with paperwork, not whispers. One of the most influential luxury brands on Earth has initiated formal legal action against Meghan Markle, seeking damages totaling $8 million. This is not a brand issuing a warning. This is not a cease and desist. This is a fully filed civil case alleging fraud, contract violations, unjust financial gain, and reputational harm. That distinction matters. Luxury houses do not move impulsively. They do not file lawsuits based on irritation or bad press. When a company like Chanel takes someone to court, it is because the internal review is finished, the evidence is organized, and the cost-benefit analysis has already been settled. They are not hoping to win. They believe they already have. What makes this filing extraordinary is not the amount of money involved. $8 million is negligible to a company of this scale. The real objective is deterrence. Chanel is signaling to the industry, to clients, and to courts that certain lines, once crossed, will be enforced. At the center of the complaint is an allegation that spans nearly 2 years and involves dozens of high-value transactions. According to the filing, Chanel claims that Meghan Markle engaged in a repeated pattern of purchasing luxury items, wearing them publicly, and then returning them under false pretenses. This practice has a name in retail. It is not glamorous, it is not ambiguous, it is called wardrobing. In ordinary cases, wardrobing involves inexpensive clothing and isolated incidents. What Chanel alleges here is something entirely different, a systematic exploitation of luxury retail policies involving couture-level garments, coordinated scheduling, and consistent misrepresentation. The number is precise: 47, not approximately, not dozens. 47 individual items. Chanel lists them with dates, locations, values, and return explanations. That specificity tells you this was not assembled after the fact. It was tracked as it occurred. According to the complaint, these items were worn at private engagements, filmed appearances, and photographed outings, then returned as unworn, defective, or unsuitable. Chanel alleges the reasons given ranged from discomfort to color mismatch to quality concerns. What matters is not the excuses themselves, but their frequency and timing. Patterns create liability. Chanel claims it did not immediately intervene because isolated returns are defensible. Even several may be explained away. But when returns follow public appearances with clockwork regularity, deniability evaporates. The company alleges it allowed the behavior to continue specifically to establish intent. This was not a trap, it was documentation. Luxury boutiques operate under surveillance. According to the lawsuit, flagship locations maintain comprehensive video and audio recording for security, inventory protection, and dispute resolution. Chanel asserts that multiple return interactions were captured, including exchanges between store associates and representatives from Meghan Markle's team. One incident detailed in the filing describes a refused return of a high-value tweed ensemble. The associate noted visible wear inconsistent with the stated return reason. The interaction escalated. The lawsuit alleges that a member of Markle's team invoked her status to pressure staff into processing the return, followed by implied reputational threats. Chanel did not comply. They archived the footage. This is the moment when corporate behavior shifts from customer service to legal preservation. Once evidence is retained in this way, the goal is no longer resolution, it is accountability. But store recordings were only the beginning. According to the filing, Chanel's legal team later pursued unaired production footage connected to a filmed project involving Meghan Markle. Raw footage is not curated. It is not polished. It captures what participants forget is being recorded. Chanel alleges that in this material, conversations occur regarding how to conceal tags during wear and ensure garments remain returnable. not whether items should be purchased, but how they should be preserved for reimbursement. That distinction is critical. Accidental misuse suggests negligence. Advanced planning suggests intent. Chanel further alleges internal testing was conducted on returned garments, labeled unworn. Luxury houses do not reshelve high-value returns blindly. Items are inspected under controlled conditions. According to the complaint, testing identified cosmetic residue, fragrance compounds, and biological traces inconsistent with unworn merchandise. The garments were preserved, the chain of custody was documented. At this point, the case moves beyond retail policy into forensic territory. Then came testimony. Chanel claims cooperation from formerly associated individuals with Meghan Markle's wardrobe operations. According to the filing, these individuals provided detailed explanations of how items were selected, worn, and prepared for return. They allegedly used professional tagging equipment to remove and reattach labels. That detail matters because it suggests deliberate concealment rather than casual oversight. One witness, identified as a public figure rather than an employee, allegedly corroborated these accounts, asserting direct observation of the behavior and statements implying awareness of wrongdoing. If presented in court, such testimony shifts liability from staff mismanagement to personal involvement. This is where the lawsuit stops being a dispute and becomes a risk map. Because Chanel is not only alleging misuse of merchandise, it is alleging a financial benefit derived from misrepresentation. According to the complaint, purchases were sometimes logged as business or production expenses, followed by refunds after returns. The implication is clear. If refunds were issued while deductions remained, the issue expands beyond retail fraud into financial misreporting. And here, the name Prince Harry appears. Chanel alleges that some transactions were processed through accounts associated with him. Whether he was aware is not the legal threshold. Transaction records do not require intent to raise questions. They require explanation. Once allegations like this exist in formal filings, they rarely remain isolated. They propagate. Power does not respond emotionally. It responds structurally. After the lawsuit became public, the reaction from the fashion industry was not outrage, it was withdrawal. Quiet, methodical, and decisive. According to industry sources, luxury conglomerates initiated internal reviews of past collaborations. Stylists began distancing themselves. Showrooms adjusted access policies. Invitations stopped arriving without explanation. This is how exclusion works at the top. There is no announcement, just absence. The most symbolic consequence emerged within fashion's central institution. Reports indicate that Meghan Markle is no longer considered eligible for invitations to the Met Gala. This is not a social snub, it is an industry verdict. The Met Gala is not a party, it is a financial and reputational exchange between designers, editors, and power brokers. Being removed from that ecosystem signals that trust has collapsed. Fashion tolerates controversy. It does not tolerate liability. Design houses operate on relationships. Editors protect designers, designers protect their margins. When someone is perceived as a risk to both, the system closes ranks. Chanel has made it clear that settlement is not the objective. According to the lawsuit, the final incident involved a returned garment deemed irreparably damaged. When the return was refused, the alleged response crossed from insistence into pressure. That moment, according to the filing, marked the end of tolerance. Chanel conducted a comprehensive internal review, compiling years of records, footage, communications, and testimony. Then they filed a lawsuit that does not speculate, it enumerates. The tone of the filing is not moral, it is procedural. That is what makes it dangerous.
This case is not about aesthetics or entitlement. It is about whether access was treated as currency, whether status was leveraged in place of payment, and whether the assumption of immunity replaced accountability. In elite systems, being disliked is survivable. Being considered untrustworthy is terminal. As this case moves toward discovery, depositions, and potential financial audits, the stakes expand. Civil filings invite scrutiny from other institutions. Financial patterns invite algorithmic attention. Once the machinery starts moving, it does not require headlines to continue. The illusion that status shields behavior only works until documentation appears. What remains now is not narrative control, but record-keeping. Evidence does not negotiate. It waits. This story is not ending in interviews or public statements. It is ending in transcripts, timestamps, and exhibits. And that is the difference between scandal and consequence.